Have you ever wanted to create your own software product business, but then you realized that you needed some kind of investment so you could move on with your project, but since you could not find that investment, you have given up in your project? Well, that happens a lot. Unfortunately, many developers give up because of that difficulty. I am Manuel Ems, and for the last 15 years I've been working on my own software product business, and I'm here to share what I have learned about these and other topics. So I'm going to give a small talk about this topic of getting investors, so I can tell you what type of investors exist, and which type of investor is adequate for the phase of the project that you have, and how you can find those investors. So, I'm going to start with this talk, which has the title How to Get Investors for Your Software Product Business. This talk will be in two parts, so let's move on with the first part. On the first part, I'll be talking about how investors can help you in your project. And then I will tell you what types of investors exist so you can decide which one is more adequate so you can approach and eventually get the investment that you need. First, let me answer one simple question that sometimes it's not obvious. How can investors help you in your project? The most obvious reason why people seek investors is to ask for money. Money to help them move on, probably working on the project full time and still be supported for their needs of their lives, or maybe to hire somebody or hire some other service that is necessary for their project. However, this is not the only type of help that you can get from investors. You can also get other types of help that sometimes are even more important. One of them is knowledge. Many investors have also been entrepreneurs in the past, so they have gathered lots of experience and they can share that experience and knowledge with you so your project can be successful. Another type of help that sometimes is not very obvious is contacts. Investors often have actually know people that are in important places that can help you to succeed. So they probably know people in companies that can be your customers. They probably know people in government that can also be your customers. And those contacts are very important, and sometimes investors are very important for you to reach those contacts and be successful. Now let me describe you the types of investors that exist that you may resort to them or not. The most basic type of investors is you. I'll be explaining more about this ahead. Another type of investor is the so-called friends, fools and family. Another possibility to get investment is to resort to what is called crowdfunding. Another type of investor that you also can resort are the so-called angel investors. Another type of investor that you can also resort, at least in a certain stage of your project, is the so-called venture capitalists. And finally, one type of possible investors that are not really investors, but some people consider to somehow leverage their business, are banks. So let me describe each type of these types of investors that you can resort. The first type is actually you. You, because if you are a software developer and your product is a software package, a software product, you be the person that will be working on it. So what you need is basically time and skill to implement that product. So you will initially be the main investor of your product. You do not actually have to leave your current job if you need the money to support yourself, support your family. You may do it working on your free time. So another type of investor are so-called the three Fs, the friends, fools, and family. These are basically people that are very close to you. They probably know you for a long time. They trust in your capacity. They are very eager to see you succeed. If there are some economies, they probably will be very willing to invest on you so you can move on with your project. So basically they invest on you because they like you and they want you to succeed. Another type, a possibility to raise some investment is the so-called crowdfunding. Usually there are sites on which you can present the ideas of the products that you want to develop. You can present them as a product idea that does not exactly exist, but you already know how you can achieve it, and you can present it as a possibility for the future. Or you may even have already a prototype that you can show and give a preview of how your project will work when it is finally launched. You can provide different options for people that are interested in your product. Basically, it could be different variants of your product when it is finally released, and you will be kind of pre-selling that project, so they can pay you money in advance and help you to funding the development and production of your software product. Usually you start a campaign on one of those sites, like for instance Kickstarter, and you establish a goal of a certain amount of money that you find necessary to move on with your project. And if during the period of the crowdfunding campaign you reach that goal, you will receive the money that was collected from the backers, the people that want to back your project, and from then on you can carry on developing your product, and finally later when the product is available you will be responsible to deliver what you promised in the crowdfunding campaign. Another type of investors are the so-called investors. Usually these are investors that invest in your business when it is still in its early stages. It's not certain that your product will succeed, but they believe on your potential and your capacity to come with a product, eventually making the necessary adjustments when certain challenges come up, so you can adjust the product and make it successful and reach the market that it may reach with its capacities. Another type of investor are the so-called venture capitalists. These are investors that usually invest on proven businesses that are already generating money, and they need more money to invest on the growth of its business, on the expansion of its business. Could be to develop more products or expand to new markets, new countries. So they usually are not interested to invest on risky businesses. Your business has to already be proven. It just needs more money to grow. Another interesting detail that is worth mentioning is many of the venture capitalists need that you move closer to where they are located geographically. So if they are in another country, you probably need to move to the region where they live, so you can meet them in person, not only to discuss the project, but sometimes they could take you to other people that can help you to sell your products. And finally, one type of investor that is not really an investor is to resort to banks to get loans, and eventually you will have to pay those loans with the interests that are being charged by those banks. And the importance of this detail is that if you fail, you still owe them money. So you can get legally in trouble if you fail. So this is not really a recommended type of investor. So in the part 2 of this talk, I'll be talking about which types of investors suits better your needs according to the phase of the project or on which you are. And I will also talk about how to find each type of investors so you can move on and get the investment that you need. At the time of this recording, the part 2 is not yet recorded, but probably when you are watching this, it is being edited, and if you want to see the next part, probably you will find below this video a button to sign up with your Facebook account or enter your email address so you can be notified when the second part is available. If it is already available, you already see a link, and using those possibilities to sign up, you will get the next part, and eventually you will also be notified later when I will present a free workshop that I will be giving to talk about these and other important topics. See you on the next part.